All right, all right. Well, welcome, Mr. Hoover.
Welcome, guys. Like always, welcome to the show. Do us a favor and share this link wherever you're watching it, whether you're watching it on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. Share this link, post it in your groups. This is going to be a good one. This is going to be kind of an overarching update of all the things that are coming for 2023. We got JT Gramps back on the show, bringing us another community champ. We're going to do several of those in a row the first few weeks, and then we'll probably take it to every other week or once a month or something like that. But he's got a backlog of the ones that he thought of initially. He's chomping at the bit, and we want to get those names out there. We're going to talk about some new entries into the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. We're going to talk about some Challenge Series updates where I'm going to give you an opportunity to earn free entries and win a $100 Fish USA gift card each month by challenging the fish, and how we can take that Challenge Series to the next level. We'll talk about that when we get to that point. We're going to elaborate a little bit more on what FishOPS is. But if you guys follow the channel, especially on YouTube, I released a video today explaining a little bit more in-depth overview what FishOPS is. We're going to do that tonight, as well as open up the floor for a question and answer session. So Randy, keep me honest on that, because we tend to ramble a little bit on this show. And so we need to save some time for the question and answer about everything, but specifically about FishOPS. And then we're going to talk about some updates to the AmBASSador series. Really more questions about how you guys feel we should do to really increase participation, and what we can do as KBF to give back to the AmBASSador clubs out there. And I'm going to talk a little bit about just kind of pie in the sky on where I see it going. That way I can get y'all's feedback on it. So I think what we should do to kick the show off on, Randy, is we should get JT on here and let him talk about his community champ by fishing with Grant.
Let's bring him in here. Where is he at? There he is. JT, welcome back to the show.
What's up, fellas?
All right, man. You ready to bring us another community champ? Because I'm putting you on the spot.
I sure am. Talk about a feel-good story right before Christmas, and it was kind of wild and crazy at the same time, because you don't expect it, but then you're not surprised when it becomes reality. So the USA kayak fishing team was down in Mexico fishing, I believe, in the Pan Am Games. And pardon me for not being completely prepared for tonight. I jumped in the last minute. But right before Christmas, the Team USA was down fishing in the Pan Am Games in Mexico. It was really kind of awesome to watch, seeing some of our nation's best down there competing. But that wasn't the big story of the event, even though they won. The big story of the event was, you talk about the best Christmas present that you can give somebody. And it was really, it punched me again in the heart. And this angler has a way of doing that. And just to start off real quick, I've been a fan of this person for quite some time. And many people are who, are YouTubers and kayak fishing and follow a lot of different kayak fishing channels online. But I met this angler at the fellowship prior to the KBF National Championship. Kind of met off on the side and a little devotional, and I got to meet a lot of different people. But this angler in particular, Miss Christine Fisher, was a person who I'd been looking forward to meeting for quite some time. And we met and chatted and hit it off. And, I got to talking to her after my day one failure, just got skunked like a lot of other people did. And I was feeling pretty dejected after having a decent practice. And she, of all people, dealing with headaches and whatnot, listened to my kind of sad sob story where I was just like, hey, what's up? And she kind of got me in good spirits. The next day, I went out and put up a good limit, crawled my way into the 100. And for me, that was winning the Super Bowl. But then she goes, and then so again, she punched me in the heart by just taking the time to talk to me. Just a regular Joe there fishing. I got there through the state challenge series. But I mean, I thought that was really cool that she would take the time to do that. Then she goes down to Mexico and fishes with the USA, and she's got the flu down there. And at the end of the event, if I get this right, there was a lady who was fishing for Team Mexico named Carla Jaime, I believe her name is. And it turns out, I don't know if she had borrowed a kayak to compete or was just there, but she was in, kind of desperate needs of a kayak. So Christine, being Christine, went back, talked to her sponsors, her teammates. She left this young lady a fully loaded Hobie kayak, the one that she'd been fishing out of her tournaments the whole year with, complete with Garmin live scope. She got with her teammates, got some batteries, and just out of the kindness of her heart, set up a fellow lady angler with a complete professional setup so that she can compete at just that much of a higher level. And if I understand the story right, had Carla caught one more good fish, she could have won the whole thing. So that, to me, right before Christmas, just going down there, coming out, pouring your heart open, meeting new people, doing what we in the community do. And again, we talk about this a lot because it's not always about the money, the titles, the tournaments, the competition. It's about anglers helping anglers, our community. And that's one thing I love about the kayak fishing community. For all the little negative Nancy's who like to talk online, 99% of this community will give you the bait out of their box, the rod off of their rod tube to keep you fishing. I mean, I guarantee it. And that's just one thing I truly, truly love about this sport is the heart and soul that goes into it from all the anglers out there supporting each other, taking care of each other, picking each other up and boosting each other on. It's a truly, truly phenomenal thing. So this week's community champ by Fishing with Gramps, Miss Christine Fisher.
Listen, man, you're not going to get any argument out of me. I've known Christine for a number of years. We actually followed her for a couple of national championships where I was like, this girl's going to be something special. Put a camera boat on her and just follow her. And then she started doing YouTube and has basically come out, just come on like a storm. Her content's very watchable. There's a lot of people on YouTube that aren't that watchable. You know what I mean? And sometimes even the two of us are not that watchable. But Christine's very watchable. You know what I mean? She's very pleasant. She's showing you the excitement. She's teaching you. She's sharing. And so, you guys stay tuned to the end of the show because I got a little something else up my sleeve for Miss Fisher. So, and we didn't even plan this. Like JT said, he kind of wasn't prepared because it was last minute. What he means is I called him 30 minutes before we went live and said, dude, can you come on the show tonight? And he's like, yeah, let me get it together. So it's not on him. It's on me. But JT, man, I appreciate it. I want to get you to hang out in the green room if you don't mind, because I'm going to bring you in and get your opinion on a lot of this because you've become a real go-to resource for me, a sounding board. You've jumped in on the weight loss challenge. You've jumped in on the CATCH22 challenge. I remember when I texted you the first week of January and was like, dude, I can't believe the CATCH22 is doing as well as it is out of the gate. I haven't even promoted it yet. You were like, oh, you haven't, but I have. And so that's just proof of how much you've really meant to this community right out of the gate. And I want to kind of have you hang around for the show if you don't mind, because I'm going to bring you back in to get your opinion on a few things. So, guys, listen, before I kick JT into the green room, first and foremost, he was the first person to sign up and sign on for the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. In fact, when they came down over Veterans Day for the FishOPS and Fish Camp planning session, he was wearing knucklehead gear. His brother had knucklehead gear. They actually had the knucklehead gear, and I didn't even have it yet. Now, I did the diet thing. I ordered a size down on everything, so I've got my knucklehead gear hanging in my room and my bedroom at the front of the camper as like my motivation to get myself down a shirt size. So you guys are going to see me. You knuckleheads are going to see me in the knucklehead gear here pretty soon. I really want to turn that knucklehead brand into something that we can use as a force for good. And it's basically just kind of a sub brand of FishOPS, which is a sub brand of KBF. And I'm going to talk about that tonight because people are like, what is knucklehead? What is FishOPS? That's why I did the What is FishOPS video earlier today. So there's a full video explaining it on my YouTube channel. Even after you watch this tonight, please go back and watch that video because I think I get a little bit more into some of it than I probably will tonight. But we convinced the folks at Fishing Chaos to create a weight loss challenge. Now, I'll tell you guys straight up, I'm going to preempt y'all on the reason that I was able to convince them to do it so quickly. you can't see it on here, but if you go to Fishing Chaos and you go to the weight loss challenge, you'll see that it's actually calculating your weight loss and it's calculating a percentage on the website. Now, it won't show the percentage on the app until they do the next update push. But so far, JT's in the lead with 2.79% loss. I'm at 1.34. Jeremy Van Pelt at 1.85. And so if you haven't done so yet, head over to Fishing Chaos, sign up for the FishOPS Fish Free weight loss competition. You don't have to be a paid KBF member, but you do need to be a KBF member. So that way, when I draw prizes, I can just look you up in the membership base, contact you, and send you prizes. And it doesn't take me 3-4 weeks to process it. So right out of the gate at the end of January, we're going to give away some Fish USA fat-free gift cards. So, you know, we're less fat than we were in the beginning. And then I'm just going to work on trying to build out some more prize packages. And you guys know how it works. The more participants we get, the more leverage I can have with sponsors. But what's really cool about that whole concept is down the road, we can use that same concept to do weighted challenges where you can say a smallmouth is worth this percent, a largemouth is worth this percent, a pike is worth this percent. So it's really setting the table for us to be able to do some stuff that is fishing related. So you guys get in there, sign up for the free, the fat-free weight loss challenge. The free means you're going to be free of some of your fat. It also means it's free to enter. So just sign up as a free KBF member or consider joining if you want to help support the cause. But jump in on that weight loss challenge. And we're going to do some grand prizes at the end of the year for the people that stuck with it all year long. We all tend to come out of the gate strong, do our New Year's resolutions, get on our diets, and then about March, we're all like faded and off into the corner. So the idea behind this weight loss challenge too is if you sign up for it, I can actually send out a push notification and I can send out a email to everybody that signed up as a little bit of a, hey, reminder, you're in the weight loss challenge. So if you happen to be about to drop your elbows on the table at Waffle House and eat 3 stacks of hash browns, you might reconsider, which is what this whole accountability thing is about. So if you haven't done so yet, consider signing up for that. Speaking of the CATCH22 challenge and that knucklehead down there, just really, taking the bull by the horns and starting to promote it. I'll be honest with you guys, and I'll say this. If I've said it once, I've probably said it 50 times now. I had a tough year in 2022. So I started the CATCH22 challenge, and then I got out on the road, and there was a couple times that I just hit the wall and lost motivation. I was depressed. I was doing all these things and just felt lost. Throw the divorce in there, and things just started to snowball on me. And, I had a pretty good pity party for myself in 2022. And then God sent a bunch of people into my life to surround me with positivity. One of them being this knucklehead. This dude over here is always a mainstay for keeping me up. And it just so happens that most of the people that come into my life that are able to really lift me up are vets. Okay. I identify very well with vets. We speak the same language. We call each other a knucklehead or a FUCKER. But it's a term of endearment. It's not an insult. You know what I'm saying? And when you guys were down here, I just felt that again. And it really put some wind in my sails. And I remember thinking that I was letting you guys down by not having this big elaborate plan when you got here. And I'll never forget that Matt's wife, Serena, was like, the best plan was that you didn't have a plan because this became the plan. And we had a good weekend. And we all had 15 goosebump moments when the thing happened with Tim being right here and being a crisis, mental health management guy. And he actually texted me today, ironically enough, and I was going to text him tomorrow because I spent all day at I spent the afternoon into evening at Dan Hardy's house, who is the chapter director for Heroes on the Water for North Alabama, kind of looking through his gear, assessing what he needed. And so we're going to use the first funds that we raised through the CATCH22 challenge to get that chapter up to speed, get new gear. He's got old kayaks with missing handles and missing parts, and they're not the most stable kayaks. So you throw a vet in it. Now they end up flipping their kayak and they don't have a warm fuzzy. They don't have a great experience. So then they don't want to kayak fish. And so I've got a really good commitment from a lot of brands that are willing to sell me kayaks at cost, at a very minimum early on, to get these guys out on the water. I want to establish a recurring deal where it's not just a one and done, so that they feel like this is something that they can count on as part of their life. It's something that they can look forward to. And then ultimately the goal is to get them weaned off of needing us to take them, so that they're then taking themselves, and so that they can then take somebody. Because I remember I said this, because I've said it 100 times from my Navy career. And I said this at our little powwow back on Veterans Day weekend. And you set up and you said, what did you say? And I have a philosophy called each one reach one. If each person can reach one person, then that person will reach one person. But if just each one of us could reach one person, we'll double our impact. And then if each one of those people could reach one person, we'll double it again. And then if each one of them, and so we can have an exponential impact. And I'll be honest with you, man, about halfway through 22, I felt so overwhelmed, because the harder I was fighting and the harder I was pushing, I was still seeing friends dying. And, you know, we've talked about this offline, where we almost wanted to get away from the 22 number, because talking about the fact that 22 veterans a day commit suicide in the U.S. isn't the goal number to get that number down. The goal is 0. The goal is to say 0 is the only acceptable number. But if we got to 11, if we got to 5, is that a win? If we got to 21, it's a win, because we saved a life, a month. That's 12 lives a year. But if we can get this thing under control, and we can really shine a light on the darkness, like I'll tell you a quick example real quick, and I'm not going to ramble tonight, I promise you guys, but I'd never heard of this artist, Morgan Wade. And she probably wasn't the type of music that I would have even listened to 2 years ago. And I listened to one of her songs and was like, dang, this girl is good. And the song resonated with me. It was called Run. And it was just talking to me in the place that I was in at that time. So I got up and I started walking and I started running, and I just got my mind back right again. And that's when I started the 75 hard and doing all that kind of stuff. Well, then I kind of forgot about her, and I was in a dip again, and she just popped up on my Apple Music or iTunes or something. And there was a podcast she did where she was talking about a song, where in her song she says, you know, it's not okay to talk about if you're from the South, to talk about your mental health. And it just lit another fire under my butt. We've got to talk about it, because it's not just veterans, but it's first responders and nurses and doctors and everybody that's been through the struggle and has gotten, you know, overwhelmed by the levity of their job. And, you know, again, we refer to those as homeland heroes under one big umbrella, but I really want to talk about those communities individually down the road. And the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series is yet another opportunity for us to all pick a charity and promote it and support it. And when you have a mission, you feel fulfilled. When you're giving back, you feel fulfilled. And when you do those things, it actually it becomes more selfish, because you're getting so much fulfillment out of it, you want to do it more. So it's not a selfless thing then, and it's not as much of a sacrifice. So when we came up with the idea of doing the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, this dude over here was like, over there. Yeah, I can't point right. That guy down there was the first one to sign up. And then I talked to Gene, and he came on board. And then we talked, you know, so we got Darren from Window Fishing on board, and I'm going to be on his podcast next week. And then you challenge Rudd, and I talked to Rudd on the phone, and Rudd's in. And then I talked to the fellows from Burley, and they haven't decided if they're going to do one team and bring in 2 people or do 2 individual teams. But Paul and Jeff from Burley Fishing are in. And then out of nowhere, I get a text message from a friend of mine, a guy that I've been friends with for a long time, UFC fighter named Clay Guida. And Clay's like, hey, are you going to be in Nashville this weekend? I was like, no. He's like, you ought to come up and hang out. It's the Big Rock Sports Show. So I go to the Big Rock Sports Show, and I talk to a couple of brands, and they asked me about the CATCH22 challenge because they had heard about it. Well, then I tell them what we're doing this year, and they're like, whatever we can do to help. And so every booth that I walked into, when we told them the FishOPS story, they said they're in. They're going to donate prizes. They'll sell me prizes at their cost so that the dollars can go further. And Clay said, did you say knucklehead? And I said, yeah. He goes, dude, that's my nickname. Like, I'm a knucklehead. We're all knucklehead. Like, that's like, I'm the poster boy knucklehead. And I said, what are you doing Veterans Day weekend? He's like, whatever you were asking that I need to be at. And I said, well, we're doing this knucklehead bass fishing series. If you'll captain a team and help us promote it, it'll help us spread the word. So Clay Guida is now in. So Clay Guida is going to call out another UFC fighter. And then that UFC fighter is going to ultimately, hopefully, call out another UFC fighter. And so it's just been an unbelievable blessing in disguise. We're not even halfway through January yet, and we've got a lot of momentum. So here's the dog tag that you get. Last year, I had this idea that you got the dog tag when you finished the Catch-22 because I didn't want it to be a participation trophy. I wanted it to be something that you earned. But the more I thought about it in the off season, and the more I thought about kind of what it's symbolic of, so it's got FishOPS on one side, it's got the Catch-22 logo on the other side. We decided this year that as soon as you sign up, we're going to process the tag. So you get a tag for every Catch-22 challenge you sign up for. This year we didn't do a bunch of craziness. We did black bass per state and then any 22 anywhere. Now, for clerical purposes, y'all do me a favor if you're in the Catch-22 challenge. Go edit your fish that you entered into the Catch-22 challenge from inches to count. So in other words, every fish you enter, you just put in a 1, and I didn't do a good job of explaining that. So go back and enter them. I'll go be adjusting a lot of them myself on my side. But from here on out, when you enter the Catch-22 challenge, any 22, it's based on count. So when you enter a fish to that leaderboard, just put a 1 in each time, and it'll count up the number of fish. We just didn't want to try inches because some people are going to catch a muskie, and we don't even have a real measuring board big enough for it. Some people are going to catch striper. You can catch a sturgeon. So that one's based on count. So just enter the number of fish by entering a 1 each time you enter a fish to the any 22. Now, for the Catch-22, obviously enter your length. And part of the Catch-22 idea is that we get people fired up about fishing and other stuff like the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, like the KBF Challenge Series. But a lot of people have asked me, how are you going to take the Catch-22 to the next level? And, you know, I'll be honest with you. It was like, it's a struggle to go out and ask brands for product because they get hit up 10,000 times by 10,000 clubs and pros and people that are just like, yeah, me and my buddy is running this tournament down here to benefit whatever. And they don't even give them any information. So they just get over hounded. So I created this fancy graphic right here from the Chattistrator. And this is going to be the best illustration that I can do of what the game plan is for how to take FishOPS as a brand and to take what we do with Catch-22, what we're going to do with Catch-5. And I'm going to use the same formula for the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, at least for my individual series. And these other knuckleheads can do whatever they want with theirs. But I want to be as transparent as I possibly can. So here's the game plan for the Catch-22 challenge. 50% right off of the top of entry fees is going to be put back into the tournament. Operations, 25% of it's going to go to operations. That's going to cover judging, revenue tax, like all of our expenses, you know, that are associated with running these series. And a lot of people don't realize this, but when you bring in revenue and you're not a not-for-profit, you'll pay a certain amount of tax on it. And about 20% to 22% of that is going to be eaten up with that. So that's not as big that's not a profit center like it looks like. And then over here, right off the top, 25% is going to go to the designated charity. And in my case, it's going to be our Heroes on the Water. So for the Catch-22 challenge, there's 50% put back, and I'll explain this in a second. 25% is going to go to operations, and 25% is going to go directly to the charity. Now, you may say to yourself, wow, only 25% is going directly to the charity. But if you think about it like this, if this 50% over here makes the event bigger, this 25% over here will be 4 times bigger than if we gave them 100% if we weren't able to do this part. So this part. So let me explain how this 50% works. So we take 50% of the entry fees, and I reach out to sponsors and brands and people and say, I'd love to buy some product from you to use as prizes to get more people entered into this tournament. Because a lot of times if you're just saying donate, enter, you're not going to get anything back. You know, and Randy and I have even done an event or two together where we tried to help a cause. But if you don't have something to give the people who are entering, there's just less people that are motivated to do it. It's with them. It's the world we live in. Like, what's in it for me? So if we can put that carrot on the stick, and then simultaneously we can support the brands that are supporting us by buying some product from us, and they give us products that once this concept is proven, my goal is to take this 50% right here, and as sponsors start giving us 10%, we move that to the charity. And then if they start giving us, 25% of it, we move that to the charity. And so my goal is to turn this thing like this at some point where a minimum of 50% is going to the charities right off the top. 25% is going back into the charity, and 25% is going to cover operational costs. I'm just going to be, again, as transparent as I possibly can. It's going to be very difficult to get operational cost and what we do under that 25%, because when you're bringing in revenue and you're buying things, that's about the number, right? But the more that we can make of this 50% that we're buying from sponsors moving over to the charity side, because instead of making us buy it, they're donating it to us, the more we can make this whole thing bigger, we can really raise the bar. And I also want to say this, 25% for operations is also going towards the disabled veterans that I'm hiring to judge the fish, that I'm hiring to help out, even with the KBF side, so that I can consolidate and lower our cost overall, keep putting over 100% back into the sport, help with AmBASSador series, and then simultaneously give these guys not only a job and something to do on the side, but the unintended consequence of it for me after I talked to the first 2 or 3 veterans that I interviewed is they're now getting to live vicariously through the fish that they're judging. They're getting to see those fish come in, and it actually gets them fired up and gets them motivated to go fishing themselves. And they're not competition oriented, so they're not going to be out there trying to, use the spots that they found or some of these things that other people are worried about with the judging of the challenge series. So I'm looking for these guys that are not, hardcore competitors, not looking to be hardcore competitors long term, but the opportunity for them to give back, live vicariously, make a little bit of side money. And then I'm also getting a commitment from each of these brands that I'm working with to say, if I buy this product from you and promote it and get you this exposure, can you at least do me a favor and give a pro staff discount to these veterans that are judging for me? So that way, whatever I'm paying them, their money goes twice as far when it comes to them buying gear for themselves. And so far, everybody's 100% on board with that. So in the past, I've had it all up here, and I haven't done a good job of being transparent about how things work. And I just wanted to do that with the way that we're doing the Catch-22 challenge. So at the end of January, I'm going to take the number of however much we've gotten in entry fees from ticket sales, and I'm going to reach out to 2 or 3 sponsors, and I'm going to say, all right, I want to buy this much in product, and that'll be the prizes for February. And then in February, I do the same thing. And by the time it's all said and done, my goal is that by the time we finish this thing out, the Catch-22 Challenge is the biggest fishing tournament that's ever been held, right? Charity or not charity or whatever, but it's and I think that the 22,325 fish we did last year, that's probably the most fish that's ever been entered into a single event. But I'm going to make that make sense to you guys from a scale standpoint. The entire KBF Challenge Series last year had 95,000 fish entered into it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Catch-22 Challenge had 22,000 entered into it. So almost a quarter of the total number of 40 states fishing for 12 months, right? So, or on average about 8 months per state. But you understand what I'm saying? It's a significant accomplishment and a significant, contribution that the anglers that signed up for that first ever Catch-22 Challenge brought to the table. So right now, I'm just going to tell you guys that my goal is whatever Tuesday is the closest to the 22nd of each month is going to be the Tuesday that I do the drawings for the prizes. Some of it's going to be based on people that have caught fish, but the vast majority of it's going to be based on you simply taking this dog tag and using the hashtag Catch-22 Challenge and tagging the sponsor that is supporting us for that month. So then I can go back next year and say, look, for the month that these guys were tagging you on social media alone, I saw over 1,000 posts that tagged your brand with the Catch-22 logo and then I can assign a value to that, and then hopefully get them to either double what they give us or sell it to us cheaper. Either one of those means that overall percentage wise, more money is going to the charity and less money is going to buying the prizes. But I really want to make this thing as beneficial as I possibly can. So I'm going to reinvest 50% of the entry fees back into putting a bigger carrot on the stick for folks to enter. So for this month, we basically are at 160 entries, so I'm just going to do some fat, like knucklehead math. 160 times 22 is 3520. Right now, divided by 2, that's $1,760 worth of product that I can buy. But I'll buy $1,760 worth of product, and I'll get $3,250 worth of product. So literally, it is a dollar for dollar value in product back to the community for supporting this challenge. It's fun, and it's going to raise money for charity, and more importantly, it's going to raise awareness. And look, man, I'm not going to blow any smoke up any of y'all's skirt. I do want to get the attention one day of some benevolent philanthropist or something that says, hey, Chad, what could you do with $1 million? I could buy a buttload of kayaks and get a lot of veterans on the water, and we could build a lodge to bring them down here for a week of R&R. We can do a lot of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so in 2022, I was crippled. I was literally frozen with being so overwhelmed with the stories of people committing suicide that were coming to me, and almost felt like it was like, what's the point? You know what I mean? It's like, Like, it's such a big problem. How do we tackle it? And then I just remembered, I've said this for years, you don't eat an elephant in one bite. You eat it one bite at a time. So that's what we're going to do for this. We're going to eat this elephant one bite at a time. And we're going to be like that little bulldog on the cartoons that grabs a hold of that foot and shakes until a toenail comes off. And then we're going to bite the back of the knee and then the calf. And we're just going to be tenacious about it. So if you didn't know what the Catch-22 challenge was before and how it's going to work, I think they used to say this on MTV. If you didn't know, now you know. So please do me a favor and consider signing up for the Catch-22 challenge. I think we've got another batch. We had run out of dog tags. We got another batch inbound, and they'll start shipping as soon as we get them in for everybody that signed up. If you haven't signed up, I've posted a Catch-22 challenge group of photos on my Instagram. I will post it again tonight so that if you don't have your dog tag yet, you can actually screenshot one of those photos, download it from Facebook, and use that to repost yourself. So please do me a favor and consider signing up for the Catch-22 challenge for 2023. Speaking of, go ahead, JT, what you got?
Guys and gals, everybody out there, and make sure if you're out fishing with your buddies, make sure you get them in the challenge. Because here in Indiana, there was probably 10 of us from the Gramps Fishing Fam, and we were back and forth logging fish all year long. We didn't stop at 22. We were saying, okay, who can get over 400 inches, which my brother Jeremy did. And this year, the benchmark is set, and we're going to be at it even more so. So challenge your buddies and get them out there. If you're fishing the local derbs with your local grassroots, areas, get them in there, get them uploading fish. And what I did, just for, the folks that follow my channel, the first one I knew that was somebody who subscribed was, I think, one of the first ones who uploaded a fish, Adam Odom down in Florida, sent him a prize pack. And then the first one, and I've been watching because I haven't said when I'm giving out prizes, but the first one here in Indiana, Justin Cavett posted a 19-inch smallie fishing from the bank, and I'm sending him out a prize pack. So be sure you get your buds and your friends and challenge each other and see who can put up the most, in the Annie 22, the most fish for the year. And then if you're doing the state ones, have a little competitions amongst yourselves because it's for bragging rights, and go after it and really push each other. But then also get some other buds in, because then you can be talking smack the whole year long. And we're doing it again for a good cause. And if you're traveling to another state, I went ahead and signed up for Illinois because I know I'm going to go over and hit the power plant lake here as soon as it gets a little bit warmer. But I'm going to be dragging some buds over there, and we're going to go chase some fish too. So reach out, get your friends in it, and make it a little healthy competition because it's all for a good cause. And, get out there and get after it and have some healthy competition.
Now, we are going to run some challenge within a challenges this year. Like I'm going to pick some certain days of the year and certain weekends of the year and put a leaderboard up, send a message out to everybody and say, this weekend we're running a catch-22 challenge. The biggest, everybody that catches 22 fish is going to be entered into a whole separate drawing. So we're going to do, and that was your idea, JT. You're like, dude, you should do this monthly. And I just didn't want it to be a big barrier to entry up front. So when you do sign up for the 22, right now you're signing up for the whole year. But the cool thing about the way Fishing Chaos works is all I got to do is add a leaderboard and add a ticket, and we can run little inside the events, right? And have fun with it. But to your point, if you take 22,325 and 453 people, on average, people entered 49 fish. Now, granted, not everybody entered 49 fish, but a lot of people entered 200 and 300 fish. So, but the average for everybody that entered was 49. So if we could get 1,000 people to enter 49 fish this year, that's 49,000 fish, and we over double. It would really be cool to hit 100,000 fish in a single event. You know, it'd be insane. But it would also show the sponsors and the community how much interest there is in moving this needle for veteran suicide awareness. I want to talk about FishOPS a little bit more, and then I'm going to jump into the KBF Challenge Series and what we're going to offer. But Randy, we got a deal this week from Fish USA. Everything's fallen in place with the 2 and the 2 and the 2 and the 2. So this week we got a twofer. And here's what a twofer is. The TWO stands for this week only, but it's 2 deals. So it's a twofer, and we're going to do this every Tuesday. So it'll start Tuesday and it'll roll around to the next Tuesday. So right now, if you're a KBF member, head over to Fish USA and use the code TWO for 20% off of all CATCH and all Strike King. And that lasts until Wednesday, January 18th at 3 a.m. in the morning. And he just split the difference on that for all the time zones. So if you're asking why 3 a.m., basically, it's basically better than ending at midnight on the East Coast, which would then be, 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So 3 a.m. is so that way everybody gets till midnight on the Wednesday. And then here's how we're going to roll this. We're going to do the twofer every Tuesday, and we're going to do 2 deals. And then the next week, we're going to draw 2 winners from everybody that then tags those companies so we can keep it rolling. And those are going to be the same companies that I go to and say, hey, hook us up with a little bit of support for Catch22, and we can literally move mountains. We can get out a Ginsu knife and start chopping this elephant up into little bitty pieces and blend it up into a puree so it's easier to swallow. But that's how you do this. You hit it on all fronts. And so far, I've really got to shout out Fish USA for having the vision to get behind this and support it and offer deals that are exclusive to KBF members. We call it the KBF Mob, or the members only benefits. So if you haven't done so yet, please consider joining, because this further helps us get these companies to give us this stuff to give to you knuckleheads. And you could just be a free member and you get the same deal. So sign up for a free account. Again, it's kayakbassfishing.com/join. The 2 deals this week are 20% off of all CATCH and 20% off of all Strike King. And they actually asking me, hey, what brands? And I'm like, well, everybody's throwing umbrella rigs and Alabama rigs. So the swim baits from CATCH are good. It's cold, so those micro jigs are good. They make some of the best, small size all the way up to bigger size swim baits. Strike King makes a cadre of everything you need, from jigs to deep diving crankbaits to everything in the middle, to a great line of plastics. And who doesn't like Strike King and CATCH? I think that every bass fisherman pretty much has got something from one of those 2 companies. So we're kicking it off with them. Got a great conversation going with John Cruz from Mitchell Baits. I did challenge him at the deal at the Big Rock Show to join us for the Catch22 or for the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. All he's waiting on is to figure out if his schedule's clear, because, he's got a lot of sponsor commitments and stuff like that. But I've actually known John since he was about 17, when I used to run into him on some of the lakes in Virginia before he went pro. So it'd be kind of cool if we could get Cruise Missile in on this Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. But the idea behind this Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series is to get some of the better known names to have an opportunity to fish with any knucklehead out there, and make that kind of every angler blue collar series to where we all come together for a bunch of fun and an opportunity for somebody to go home with a bunch of money. but the fans to go home with the money, not the YouTubers. Because we're all already rich, right? That's
you're doing good. You're doing
That's how
great.
that
You've done a good job keeping up with the Catch-22,
right,
Fish USA. Now it's time to talk about the challenges.
Challenge series. I'm going to make this one short. If you're fishing in the challenge series, it's no longer just about being in the challenge series and challenging yourself. I want to challenge you knuckleheads to get out there and look through these leaderboards and look for mistakes. If the mouth is open, if the identifier is wrong, if their hand's in the wrong place, if they're covering the tail, if their fingers are touching the mouth, if they're doing anything wrong, hit that challenge button. So the challenge button will let us crowdsource a lot of the judging. It'll help make these veterans who are going to be scoring these fish life easier, because you're going to be finding these errors that anglers are making. And one of the things that I've done this month is I've actually taken the time every time I found a deduction or an error and called the angler up and explained it to them, so they don't just get an impersonal notification. And I think that's gone a long ways. And on the 15th, I'm going to make a post on the Kayak Bass Fishing group to say, here's some of the common mistakes. That way other anglers can see that. And then we'll start talking about it, mistake of the week or great photo of the week or something like that in this podcast. That way we're constantly waving the flag for folks to get better at it. Listen, when you first get into catch, photo, release, it's like trying to juggle, chew gum, rub your belly, pat your head, and ride a unicycle at one time. I get that, and we've had everything this month from people putting the ticket code for the identifier to fingers, right into the gill plate, to hand over the eye and the mouth, to you name it. We've had it. And so I've got a few photo examples that I'm going to put up on the challenge series page. But I don't want you to just challenge for the sake of challenging. So here's what I'm going to do. From everyone that enters a successful challenge, I'm going to draw one winner for a free challenge series entry for any month after that. And I'm going to draw one winner for a $100 Fish USA gift card every month. Now, if we start getting quality challenges and really good challenges, I'll take that number up to the next level, because I would much rather pay you guys and give back to the community for finding these errors. And I would much rather us all work together to raise the level of understanding. But you only get 3 challenges active at a time. So don't go in there and just think you're going to challenge every fish. And if you get 3 incorrect challenges, then your challenge privileges are suspended. I can set it for whenever I want to. But for right now, I'm setting it for indefinite. In other words, I could set it for however many days. But if you get 3 bad challenges, it just means you didn't really pay attention. You were just trying to throw a challenge up there. Then I'm going to suspend your challenge privileges for at least that month and probably the next challenge too. So go in there and look for mistakes, challenge those photos. And I'll tell you something else that happens a lot. If you see a photo that's challenged, click on it, because that angler might have found one thing and you might see something different. So if you see a challenge, challenge it again, because we've had it to where people said wrong identifier code and we approved the challenge, deleted the fish. Well, then that person had their hand in the wrong place. So they went back, got the right identifier, went out fishing and kept their hand in the wrong place. So then we DQ'd that fish. And they're like, wait a minute, how come you didn't tell me that on the last fish? And we're like, well, because you had 2 mistakes and we only saw one of them. So if you see a challenge, scrutinize that photo. And this is, I guess, a little bit of a cheat code. If it's only one thing wrong and you also challenge it, then I guess technically that's a successful challenge. And so therefore you're automatically entered and eligible for one of these drawings, free entry and $100 Fish USA gift card. We're going to start with that and we're going to see how it goes. But help us help you make this challenge series more fun. I'll be straight up with you. I used to have the philosophy, angler responsibility, we'll judge them by the end of the month. If you made a mistake, you should have known better. Don't blame us. Don't blame me. But the more I'm judging myself right now and the more I'm really immersing myself into it, the more I'm going, no, good customer service is jumping in there and finding those fish as early as we possibly can, letting the angler know so they don't fish the whole month and have all their fish wrong. And then they lose 100 inches with 1 day to go and they don't have enough time to go back out and fish correctly. So yeah, we're doing the absolute best we can. And one thing I will tell you that has helped a lot is by putting the Dakota Lithium lunker board in this time, where all the big fish go to one board and we don't have to go sorting through all of the entries if we get 200 or 300 at a time, has at least allowed us to approve those big fish really quickly. And if an angler's making mistakes, they're going to make it on the big fish too, so we can let them know before they catch 5 fish and make the same mistake on all 5 of them. So that's the Challenge Series update. Randy, thanks for keeping me honest. And then last but not least, and then we'll turn it over to a question and answer is, guys, we got a $20,000 guaranteed AmBASSador Challenge Series Team Cup that's going down right here in Huntsville, Alabama, March 18th weekend. We only got 6 people signed up. $20,000, but it's also $5,000 guaranteed first place for individuals. Now, it's a $200 entry fee if you're an individual, but you're getting a guaranteed $5,000 first place. Plus, we'll build out the payout based on entries, but it's also $200 for a team. And if you enter as a team, you automatically get the individual entry. So go find 3 buddies, split it $50 a piece, and you're entered in both pools. You can get the individual money and you can get the team money.
So far, my team.
The idea behind this event was we wanted to move the AmBASSador Series Championship in alignment with the National Championship. The kayak fishing community let me know they absolutely did not like the making the qualification for the National Championship wide open. Now, some people, like that guy down there, brought some people that benefited from it. And so we did have a good year of people that came to the National Championship that wouldn't have been able to if they had to be qualified. But we drew the new line in the sand. It's 25% across the board, all trails, challenges, and AmBASSador events. That's going to be the National Championship in 2024. Back in Huntsville, on the same waters, at the same time, we're having the AmBASSador Series Championship this year. So it's pretty much a dry run for the 2024 National Championship. I have had a lot of people reach out to me. Man, I don't have a club in my area yet. Can I still fish it? For 2023, the answer is yes. You're going to be representing a club if you're in one. But if you don't have a club, you can still come and fish the event. If you're an AmBASSador Series that's thinking about joining KBF, throw a team together, come fish in the AmBASSador Series, see what we're all about at KBF, and that could be the reason you decide to join the AmBASSador Series. Now, Sam Jones, who was Gramps' last week community call-out, community champ by Fishing with Gramps, has got some really smart ideas working on how we can better serve the AmBASSador Series community. One of those being we can set up and run and judge events for you guys under the AmBASSador Series umbrella on Chaos. And the cool thing about this is if we set this up correctly, we can also make it calculate for Angler of the Year. And I got to give a shout out to one of the anglers who responded in the KBF AmBASSador leadership group that we have on Facebook, who said, I think you should go back to allowing the AmBASSador Series events that the clubs run to count towards something. So on KBF, on Fishing Chaos, we created this banner right here, which is where the AmBASSador Series Championship is located. But more importantly than that, what we want to do is start building out AmBASSador Series events. By the way, if you scroll down here, that's FishOPS where the CATCH22 challenge is. If you scroll a little further down, this is the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series where you can sign up to be on one of our teams. It's all right there under the Trail Club banner. But the beautiful thing about this AmBASSador Series is if you're a brand new club and setting up events and managing events and scoring events is intimidating for you, we can do it for you at KBF. And that's going to allow me to even better employ these vets. My goal is to change a fish from being scored to it being vetted. And I want to show you guys what that looks like. I'm still working on the graphic, but by the time the fish gets scored, it's not going to be scored anymore. It's going to be vetted. And I'm going to try to employ as many vets as I can to score those fish. And I think that we can do a really good job of servicing the community, simultaneously make a little bit of money for these veterans that are on disability, that are on a limited income, that can't work a full-time job, and they can sit there and score fish, again, live vicariously, get fired up about going fishing again, and then contact their local HOW chapter. We put their butts in boats. We get them out on the water, and we change their entire outlook on life. And then each one of them that we reach, we task them with find another you and get them to come And before it's said and done, before it's all said and done, I hope we have an overwhelming problem that we've got more vets that want to get on the water than we can possibly do it. So then we double down again. So that's FishOPS. That's CATCH22. Honestly, guys, that's my focus with KBF now, is to do the amount of trails and stuff that I've got to do to maintain our sponsor return on investment, to maintain the commitment that we've made to the community. But long-term, I'm much more interested in supporting the AmBASSador series and helping them do their stuff, running these grassroots deals like knucklehead bass fishing, and then running the CATCH22, and even doing some more Catch 5s. I think the Catch 5 was fun. Operation Dink Slayer, like, it had me cracking up. There was people putting like 4, 5, and 6 inch fish on there. I think we're going to do, probably in May when we do Mayhem, we're going to do Operation Dink Slayer, where we do the t-shirts and all that for $35. And then we're going to give away like a prize for the personal least, right? The person that could catch the smallest bass that they could put on the measuring board and things like that. So, you know, and probably because there's going to be a lot of heads that can catch a bass under 8 inches, and because the measuring board doesn't go below that, we're probably going to have to do some kind of deal where every fish under 8 inches is entered into a drawing or something like that. But the idea is that we have fun with it. Now, Speaking of fun, me and this knucklehead down here have also committed to create a series this year where we actually bounce off of each other for our YouTube channels, for our Instagram pages, even for TikTok and some other platforms, to create a fishing fundamental series where we put the fun back in fishing. And that's going to be part of the fundamentals deal. And JT, I was actually on Instagram today and I was scrolling through some videos and I saw this snail knot time video, and I started screen recording it because I was going to send it to you and say, hey, we should do this video. And then I realized it was your video. I was like, oh, dang. So we got a lot of that stuff planned. So if you guys have content or questions or head hurters about how to catch fish, what, where, when, why, all that good stuff, the two of us are really good about telling you about gear, whether we're sponsored by that company or not, telling you about techniques and tactics, whether we're sponsored by that company or not, and just being real and transparent with you. So go subscribe to his channel, go hit him up on Instagram, go look back through a lot of his old content, but light our comment sections up with what you want to see. What content have you not seen yet? What questions do you want answered? And we can start talking about it on this show. A lot of people don't realize this, but I can actually draw like pretty good. And I'm going to start doing a series. I've actually gotten the sketch pad out and started playing again. But I want to do a series at the end of a lot of my videos called Drawing Conclusions, where I sit there and kind of explain, you know, how things work when I draw it out, and just having fun with it, but bringing those things to life. And I want some of these videos to not be about KBF tournaments and all that, to just be a resource. And so I'm going to give you one tip for this video. And if you haven't gotten these types of books yet for where you live, Exploring North Alabama Natural Areas, where they talk about all the trails and creeks and access points that don't have a regular boat ramp, you are wrong. These books like this, the Alabama Paddling Trails, which, by the way, there's one of these for dang near every state. It's called Menasha Ridge Press. They make these for every state. I'm sorry, this is Best Tent Camping. All these tent camping places also have tons of river access as part of their tent camping stuff. And you can drive right into the water from these tent camping spots. You can find really cheap places to stay. But there's a whole section in this book about places to paddle and places that you can camp on rivers as part of that book. So I'm not pushing these if you don't live in Alabama, but there's these series just like this, you know, from all of these companies, you know, like these Falcon guides. I've been using these things for years. And so I picked up Paddling Alabama, and then I picked up Hiking Alabama. And it'll blow your mind how much access you can find for paddling spots by looking at these hiking books. And a lot of them mention creeks and accesses and takeouts when they're not even talking about paddling. But when you combine these things together, and so my homework for me for 2023 is I'm working on Alabama access for hiking and paddling. I'm working on campsites, and then I'm finding these wild, crazy places, you know, in Alabama, so I can reconnect with my first love, which is to drag boats to the water, not using prepared boat ramps, camping on the riverbank, doing overnight trips. And then I'm also revisiting this dude right here because I haven't read it in about 6 or 7 years. Dr. Keith Jones wrote this book. He was the Berkeley scientist that developed gulp and power baits. And this is the best bass fishing book ever written, The Scientific Approach to Catching More Fish. And one thing that I'm going to do on my YouTube channel is I'm going to start doing reviews of the chapters of this book as part of that Fishing Fundamental series. I'm just going to sit down with the book because, by the way, it's $150 now, about the cheapest you can find it anywhere. So I'm going to sit down and read some of these chapters to you guys, basically talk through it, try to avoid any kind of copyright claims, but give you my thoughts on some of this stuff to kind of make it an extended edition of Knowing Bass, throw in the kayak slant to it. But if you can pick this book up, or you can pick up paddling, hiking, and camping guides in your state, you're going to find more kayak fishing access than you can even take advantage of. So that's my tip this week. Now, I said earlier in the video that I was going to throw this challenge out there, and so JT, I'm gonna put the challenge out there, but I'm also going to put it back on you to issue it since she was your community champ. I think we need to throw the gauntlet down and invite Miss Christine Fisher to jump in on the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series, and bring her squad of knuckleheads here to compete in the Hero Cup and represent for all of her skill sets and also make all of us nervous as hell because she's not only a great. People always say she's a great female angler. She is not a great female angler. She's a great angler. Period. So Christine, if you're watching this, or somebody can comment on her next YouTube video or Instagram post, I'm calling you out. You want to be hit me up and let's see about getting you in on the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series championship and see if Team Christine.
She's well aware that we're talking about her tonight because I got her on Facebook Messenger.
Fisher. Either name sounds good. Team Christine has a nice ring to it, and Team Fisher has a nice ring to it too. So Christine, there's the gauntlet. Join us for the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. Help raise some money for charity, help wave the flag, and get some people who can fish on the bank or in the kayak involved in kayak fishing. So, Randy, if we've got any questions, man. Okay,
cool. Two more things. You need to talk about your newest partner that has teamed up with you.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I'm going to apologize for forgetting this because it is not forgettable. So that's why Randy's here. That's his whole job, is to keep all this honest. So, guys, we have got a new sponsor. I wanted to announce them tonight before we had a chance to even add all the logos to the website. I've been working with these folks, personally, one-on-one, talking about business, sharing ideas and things with them, just because I really believe in what they're doing. They're making an American-made rod. They're making kayak-specific rods. And they just basically reached out to me with nothing other than to say, hey, we have a couple of our anglers in the 10. What can we do to help? And so I reached out to Christy and said, hey, where do we need help with the 10? And every sponsor's poor mouthing people this time of year. And it's been a rough recovery because everybody was flush in 22 or 20, and 21 got a little bit less. And now they're all scared of their own shadows. So I said, we could use a little bit of help she said, we could use a little bit of help with the meal. And Tandy from Yak Rod says, we'll cover it. And I was like, which one? She's like, all of them. So my hat is off to Yak Rods. They have stepped up and they're going to provide the meals and the snacks for the folks at the 10. Derek Brundle is one of their top pros. He's actually fishing in the 10 and is going to be waving the flag for them. But then they said, if there's any other opportunities that's available, let us know. And I was like, well, look, I really want to kick this high school thing up a notch. So we did the high school thing. We ended it in December. I started talking to a bunch of kids and a bunch of parents. So we're going to kick off this year's high school series by doing a fish off for High School Angler of the Year the month of April for every kid that fished in the series last year. And I'm going to give away a $2,500 scholarship from KBF. We didn't have any sponsors for the high school series last year. We only had like 21 kids at the most enter, but I really believe in investing in the youth. So in April, we're going to do a fish off. And the kid that wins that is going to take home a $2,500 KBF sponsorship. And the way that that's going to work is we're going to reimburse $2,500 of their expenses once they sign up for college. I'm not sending some 15-year-old a $2,500 check and say, use this for college. And then by the time they get to college, it's a PlayStation. We're just going to do it above the board. I've talked to quite a few coaches, athletic directors, and parents about it, and they advise that this is a smart way to do it. So that's what we're going to do. But then May, June, July, and August, when the kids are out of school, we're going to run a 4-month high school online series where we're going to give away prizes each month, and Yak Rods is going to be the biggest supporter of that. So it's going to be the Yak Rods Young Guns Youth Series, and we're going to run that this year, March, April, May, June, July. I'm sorry, good note. Slow down, chat. May, June, July, and August. When the kids are out of school, we're going to pick winners each month, and then we're going to have a championship fish-off for a 2023 Angler of the Year and scholarship recipient. And the way we're going to do the scholarship is we're just going to take the entry fees and divide it up 50, 30, 20, and we're going to award scholarships based on how much entries we get in that series. We're going to keep the barrier to entry very low, just like we're doing with the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Series. But then hopefully get that thing cranking, get Yak Rods a good return on investment. They're going to give us some rods to giveaways to the kids, and we're just going to grow the high school thing because we have to invest.
Oh no, he froze.
He forgot to pay his Walmart internet bill.
Forgot to pay the bill to get in there, didn't he?
But I had at least one more question for him.
Yeah. But no, they've got suggestions. I mean, JT, do you know about these rods, these Yak Rods? Tell us a little bit about them.
I've actually seen Joe Drowns, I think, is fishing with them. And I mean, I've seen a few different pros, that we know that are running around, starting to come on board with them. And I know they're fairly new to the market. I had seen where another rod company a while back had tried to do something, but basically they were taking what they had and were just shortening the butts. And these they've actually put a lot of thought into, especially with the where you can put the leash in on the grip so it doesn't affect the way that you cast, and you can kind of tether it to you, because we all know, I mean, if you haven't rolled your kayak yet, it's going to happen someday. So leashes and tethers, you drop a pretty expensive combo, because if you throw a Shimano Corrado on one of those and drop it in the water, you're out some money pretty quick. But right. From everything I made, again, I love it. It's American made, a company that's probably rolling their own blanks, doing their own thing. I haven't done a deep dive on them yet, but I'd definitely be down to take a look at some, because I like talking about different gear, whether it's stuff that you can pick up at the local Wally World to get you started and on the water, to as you progress as an angler up to better stuff. And I know everybody fishes within their own budget, but it's cool to see a company that recognizes that the support is growing, and it's growing quickly. It's one of the top sports around that and pickleball, I think. But as far as fishing goes, it's the fastest competitive sport growing, and a lot of people getting out into it too. So the fact that a company took and came up with rods specific for kayakers, I thought was pretty cool. And I like the fact that I've seen already that they're either using like the wind grip, because simply they like those, but they're also doing some in cork, and a lot of people like those as well. So you kind of, whatever your fancy is, it seems like they build that way. And again, while I haven't looked at them deep yet too, it's pretty cool that they, as a new company, have already reached out and got on board with several, names that we know. And then now we're partnering up with KBF to sponsor, because, for a new business, that's huge for them to just jump in and sponsor, a big event at the 10 and stuff like that too. So I thought that was really cool. And, it's awesome that they were able to do that.
Yeah, so you definitely want to make sure you guys get in on the CATCH22 program this year. You want to get in on that. You want to get on anything that has to deal with FishOPS, help out and just support our veterans, support the organizations that Chad's trying to link up and get everybody on board with. We wish you guys the best of luck. Chad is actually, his computer has completely shut down and is not even coming back on. Technical issues there, but keep these questions coming so we can go back and we're going to start answering these through. We'll text, we'll write in on them on comments, and we'll text you and get you guys to get your feedback in here. So if you have questions, make sure you put them in the comment section, whether you're watching on YouTube or in Facebook or any of the other social media platforms, that you catch up with us there. Mr. JT, thank you very much. Congratulations to Christine Fisher for becoming the nominee for this week, and we are excited to see what is going to happen this year. JT,
join me tomorrow night on Fishing with Gramps. I'm going to have the 10 competitor Casey Reed, Old Town Pro, on my live stream tomorrow at 7 Eastern.
That's right. So you also know that we also kick off at the end of this month is the start of the trail series. So if you're going to go down to Polk County and hang out with everybody down there, this it's coming up the 28th weekend, 28th of this month. So make sure you guys join us there. And then we look forward to seeing everybody at the kickoff at the 10 Invitational. Wow, I can't believe it's already
yes to the question that they're using the same ID card.
Good job. Good job. Everybody have a wonderful day. We look forward to seeing you next week. Have a great day and get out on the water.
Hey guys, I'm Chad Hoover with Kayak Bass Fishing. If you're looking to get in on the exciting sport of kayak fishing yourself, check out KayakBassFishing.com. Yeah! Boom! Oh, yes!
What a freaking code.
So whether you want to find out more about competitive kayak fishing and kayak fishing tournaments, or just looking to learn more to make yourself a better angler, head over to KayakBassFishing.com and join today.